Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like Him. With Him we win. He's our champion. With Him we can lose. We always win. He's our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. You we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. This is the day that Yahuwah has made, that we shall rejoice, be thankful and glad in it. So we could be among the dead, but we are among the living. So we are truly, truly thankful for being alive and being able to celebrate and give Him esteem. As we come together this morning in our Sabbath class, it is a time to come to commemorate, celebrate, and to learn how to live, to learn how to apply the very instructions of our Yahuwah to our lives. As we come, every opportunity that we have to read and confess the foundational scripture that I believe that is so important to us as a people. For this scripture here and these verses help to develop and to shape and cultivate us as a people. And it comes from the book of Yahusha, the son of Nun, chapter 1. We're going to read verse 7 and then we're going to confess verse 8. Verse 7 says, "Only be strong and very courageous to guard to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it right or left, so that you act wisely wherever you go." Verse 8, as I've tailored it to fit a time of confession, repeat with me. "I will not let this book of the Torah depart from my mouth. But I shall meditate on it, day and night, so that I guard to do, according to all that is written in it. For then I shall make my way prosperous, and act wisely. Now look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Now look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Once again, look across the room and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, "I'm Yahuwah. I shall act wisely. One more time. I shall act wisely. Come on, one more time. I shall act wisely. And it is so. And it is so. I will act wisely. And it is so. Let us have this. Yeah, I lift your name on high. Yeah, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. Yeah, I lift your name on high. Yeah, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. Yeah, I lift your name on high. Yeah, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the state, my destiny, from the state to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Yeah, I lift your name on high. Yeah, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the state, my destiny, from the state to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Yeah, I lift your name on high. Yeah, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. Yeah, I lift your name on high.
I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the stage, my destiny. From the stage to the grave, from the grave to the sky, God lift your name on high. 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 You came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the stage, my debt to pay. From the stage to the grave, from the grave to the sky, God lift your name on high. God loves to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. God lift your name on high. God loves to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the stage, my debt to pay. From the stage to the grave, from the grave to the sky, God lift your name on high. 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 God lift your name on
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Your great name be magnified and distinguished, and it is so.
And it is so.
In the world you created according to your will. May your sovereignty reign in our life and in our days, and in the lifetimes of all the house of Yasrael. Speedily and soon and say, and it is so.
And it is so.
Worshipful is your great name forever and ever. May you be worshipped, and it is so.
And it is so.
May your Kaddish name be praised, extolled, exalted, and lifted up. Worshipful are you, and it is so.
And it is so.
Beyond all Baruching, song, praise, and consolation spoken in the world, and we shall declare forevermore that it is so.
And it is so.
It is so. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, forever worthy of worship. Repeat this with me. Worshipful are you,
Worshipful are you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
forever worthy of worship.
forever worthy of worship,
Forever worthy of worship.
forever worthy of worship.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, King of the universe, who forms light and creates darkness, makes shalom and creates all things, who illuminates the earth and those who dwell upon it, who continually every day renews the act of creation. Be worshipped, O Creator of Kaddish ones. Your name be praised, our King, former of ministers, whose ministers stand in the heights of the universe, making our voices heard with the words of the living Savior. King of the universe, they are entirely beloved and pure, and we all accept upon ourselves the yoke of Shemaiah. One from the other saying, Kaddish, Kaddish is Yahuwah of hosts. All the world is filled with your renown. The Alphanim and the Kaddish creatures opposite them give praise in unison, saying, worshipful is Yahuwah. Yahuwah from your position. They make a pleasant melody to the worshipful Savior, instrumental song to our King, our self-existent and eternal Savior. We shall sound your praises, for alone you do valiant deeds, makes anew, shows uprightness, makes deliverance sprout forth, and you who continually, every day, renews the act of creation, and it is so. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, former of luminaries. You love us with an everlasting love, O Yahuwah, our Savior, and with an exceedingly abundant mercy. You have mercy on us for the sake of our forefathers who trusted in you, Teach us the statutes of your life, Indeed, O compassionate Abba, our Abba, grant us mercy. Have compassion on us, O compassionate one. Allow our hearts to understand, hear, learn, teach, guard, do, and uphold all the matters of your Torah's instruction with love. Enlighten our eyes with your commandments. Instill your fear in our hearts. Make us to love your name wholeheartedly, and so we shall not be eternally shamed. For we have trusted in your great Kaddish and mighty name. From the four extremities of the earth, bring to us shalom and direct us to our land with upright confidence. We shall rejoice in your deliverance, for you have chosen us from every people and language and drawn us near to your Kaddish name, to thank you and proclaim your sovereignty. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, who chose us his people, Yisrael, and it is so. And it is so. Come on, put your hands together as we have fellowship. Let it rain, let it rain, let the fire of your Ruach rain, let it pour, yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of
your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Let it pour. Yeah, we need you more. Let the fire of your Ruach rain. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. When we've had more, we still need more. When we're to our full, we still need more.
Hallelujah.
More of Him and less of ourselves. Truly, He is a worthy Savior. Worthy, 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 worthy. His word. And we do give Him esteem this Sabbath rest. Shema Yasrael. Yahuwah is our Savior. Yahuwah is. You shall love Yahuwah, your Savior, our Savior, with all your heart and with all your life and with all your resources. These matters that I command you this day shall be on your heart. You shall repeat them to your sons and shall speak about them when you sit in your house and when you walk on the way and when you lie down and when you rise up. You shall bind them upon your arm as a symbol, and they shall be tefillin between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. The Midbar, chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. And it shall be that if you earnestly hearken my commandments, which I command you today, to love Yahuwah, your Savior, our Savior, and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I will give you the rain for your land in this season, the early rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your grain, your new grain and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your livestock, that you may eat and be satiated. Guard yourselves. Somebody said, I must guard myself.
I must guard myself.
Lest your heart be seduced, and you turn aside and serve gods, and prostrate to them. Lest Yahuwah's anger be aroused against you, and he shut up Shemayim, that there be no rain, and the land yield no produce, and you perish quickly from the good land which Yahuwah is giving you. Therefore you shall place these words of mine upon your whole life, and bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be tefillin between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land of which Abba Yahuwah swore unto your Abbas to give them, like the days of Shemayim above the earth. Chapter 11, verses 13 through 21. And Yahuwah to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael. Tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a teklet blue thread in the tassels of the corners. And you shall have the tassel, that you may look upon it and remember all my commandments of Yahuwah, and do them, and that you may not stray after your heart and after your eyes, which you go forward, and that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be conditioned for Yahuwah. I am Yahuwah your Savior, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim to be your Savior. I am Yahuwah your Savior. Bemidbar, chapter 15, verses 37 through 41. And it is so. And it is so. It's important that we understand that very command in Bemidbar, chapter 15, verses 37 through 41. On yesterday, which would be Yom Shishit, day 6. Yom Commission, which is day 5. As I was in the office and I was studying, one of the things that Yahuwah began to deal with my heart through Yahusha is how we wear our tzitzits, and how it is not to be a fashion statement, but it is to be a reminder, as the scripture tells us, a reminder that we do not go a-whoring with our eyes, and that we stray not from his commandments and his statutes. But one of the things that I have seen, and that the Ruha has shown me, is that we have tended to take the very things that are to be a reminder for us and to keep us a fashion statement. It's become a fashion statement across the board. And so on Yom Kamishi, Yahuwah gave me a charge, and I gave the charge, and I gave the warning. We have to be careful of why and how we wear our tzitzits. Why? Because once again, it has become a fashion statement. We were looking at some of the garbs, and the garbs are beautiful, but the garbs outshine tzitzits. You can't tell where are the tzitzits, and you can't tell what is to be remembered, because we've taken it and we've made it a fashion statement instead of really wearing them and utilizing its purpose. And that is to be a reminder that we go not astray, and that we go whoring not after our hearts and our eyes. This is a warning, and as he warned me, it is important that you understand, when you put those tzitzits on, it is a reminder for you. It is a reminder for me that when I put them on, that I be reminded not to fall in the same situations that our ancestors and forefathers found themselves. And then also, when we look upon each other, that we be reminded, as we look at each other, the commands and the statutes and the judgments. It's important, once again, that we dare not take this thing and make it into a fashion statement, and continue to follow it as a fashion statement, because that is not the way this is supposed to be carried out. It is supposed to be a... And let me remind you, it's important that we be reminded, so that we can remind others. We are not to take this very thing that is given unto us as a reminder, and turn it into a fashion statement, which many have done. And so it's important that we change our view on it, and we wear them accordingly. Once again, I don't want to say I'm knocking it, because I'm not, but I am warning. I am warning, once again, because now everybody is wearing them, and they wear them as though, once again, it's a fashion statement. Everybody, they got a pair of shoes for each color. They got a pair of shoes for each one for each design they wear. If they don't have a pair of shoes, then they have something else. Again, you got to remember when you look at those seats or the fringes, what does it make you remember? If it doesn't provoke you to get on your knees and pray that Abba Yahuwah keep you, something is wrong. If it doesn't remind you that you are supposed to watch yourself, watch your eyes, watch your heart, watch your thoughts, something is wrong. When I look at my seats and you look at yours, it ought to be a reminder. And if somebody else looks at yours, it ought to be a reminder. We ought never tell somebody you look fly in your seats. You look stylish in your seats, because that's not what it's for. Somewhere something has gone wrong, and we've got to deal with it. Because you must understand, we've got to make sure that we're living right. And if it ain't going to provoke me to live right, then I don't want to see it. If it ain't going to remind me that I got to make sure I maintain my consistency and stay the course, then I don't need to see it. So as he spoke to me, and as I said it and I said it, I'm saying it again. To you, you and you. He chastened those whom he loves, and he warns us so that we don't find ourselves following and continuing in a pattern or a mindset that is wrong. It's important that we understand that. So once again, I say to you, guard your hearts. And once again, the Midbar chapter 15, verses 37 through 41, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael. Tell them to make tassels. That means that each one of us have the ability to make the tassels. Problem comes in, and I'm going to challenge you on this part. When he told them that before, this was before the rabbis, sages, and the Maimonides, all that came into play. Why? Because most of the time when you do a tzitzit, you do it based upon the 613 commandments that were taken out of the Torah. Now, I'm reminding you today, because this is my job. There were no rabbis and sages at that time giving out any commands. Are you hearing me? Yes. Moshe spoke what Yahuwah said. He said, tell the children of Yisrael to do what? Make tzitzits. That means that you, myself, you, and anybody else that's an Ibra, a Hebrew, we have the ability to be able to create a tzitzit for our clothing. It is not difficult, and it is not hard. What makes it hard is when we start trying to follow the traditions of men. This is where it becomes hard. We tied our own. But you have to understand, and so it's important that we understand that this is not a fashion statement and that we are supposed to make them. We are supposed to be able to identify with what we are supposed to do. In other words, when you sit down and you create that seat to go on your clothing, it allows you to not be detached. It allows you to be committed because you have sat down and you have basically created this to put on your garment to remind you not to go backwards. Now, once again, I know a lot of people don't like it and they don't like it. I have to tell what he's told me. We've taken it and we've made a business out of it. A business. Because most of the time when you look, and I've searched, we looked, if I bought seats or bought the material for all of us, for my family, it would have been $200, almost $300 something just to buy it. Then if I wanted the beautiful dress that went with it, that's $100 and something. We have marketed something that was never meant to be marketed to be so high to where where everybody cannot have it. And in actuality, he said, you tell the children of Yisrael to make them. That means you are responsible for making your seat to put on your clothing. And to make the right one. And you have to understand what it is. It is a braided chain to fit on the four corners of your garments. Now, once again, it's important that we listen to what the Ruach Kodesh is telling us. Because we have taken it and we've made it something that it was never meant to be. And that is a fashion statement. It is to be a statement to the world that we are set apart And we're not going to do what everybody else does. Because we have a command on our lives. So I say it to you today. Let's straighten up and let's do right. So that the world can see we are truly the family of power. And that we are not out here just trying to do something just to be doing it. Once again, he's given us the ability, because we are the children of power, to put these on. Because we are supposed to have them on. I've seen babies with them on, with pom-poms on the bottom. Y'all, come on, we got to do better. We got to do better. Because this is not playtime, this is for real. And if we don't be reminded of how we're supposed to conduct our lives, we'll continue in that pattern, and we'll find ourselves outside of the mercy and outside of the covering of our Yahuwah. And I don't want that, and I know you don't want that. So once again, I say to you what I say in love, and because I am commissioned and commanded to cry loud and spare not. And we know who we are. Let's do this thing and let's get it right, so that we can see the hand of Abba Yahuwah upon our lives. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael, tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a teklet, blue thread, in the tassels of the corners. And you shall have the tassel, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahuwah and do them, and that you may not stray after your heart and your eyes, after which you go whoring. And that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be Kaddish for Yahuwah. I am Yahuwah, your Savior, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim to be your Savior. I am Yahuwah, your Savior. The Midbar, chapter 15, verses 37 through 41. And it is so. And it is so. Let us have a song, please.
Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 oh. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Oh, let it rise. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the power of Yahuwah rise among us. Let the praises of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 oh. Let it rise. Oh, let it rise. Oh, let it rise. Oh, let it rise. Let it
True and fair, established and enduring, upright and trustworthy, cherished and beloved, delightful and pleasant, awesome and upright, correct and acceptable. Goodly and beautiful is this matter to us forever and ever. It is true, Yahuwah of the universe is our King. The rock of Yaakov is our shield. He and his renown endure from generation to generation. His sovereignty is established and his dominion endures. His words are forever committed, from everlasting to everlasting. Upon us, our forefathers, our children, and all our generations, upon the early and latter generations. This testimony endures forever, an immutable law. It shall not pass away. It is true. You are Yahuwah, our Savior, Yahuwah of our forefathers, our King, King of our forefathers, our Redeemer, and Redeemer of our forefathers. You who formed us, the rock of our salvation, our liberator and rescuer. This is your renown from of old. We have no other Savior but you, and it is so.
And it is so.
You are our forefathers' help from of old. You shield and deliver their children after them, in each and every generation. That's us, y'all. It is true. Happy are those who heed your commandments. You place your word, the Torah, upon our heart. It is true. You are your people's Savior and King, valiant to fight our fights. It is true. You are the first and the last. We have no Savior but you. It is true. You redeemed us from Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. You liberated us, and all their firstborn you killed. You split the sea of reeds, drowned high-handed sinners, brought the cherished ones across, and water covered their foes. None remain. Somebody say none remain.
None remain.
Say it again, none remain.
None remain.
For this the redeemed praise and exalted Savior. The cherished ones gave forth musical songs of praise to our self-existent and eternal Savior, our King. High and lifted up, awesome and great. You lower the haughty, lift the lowly, release the bound, liberate the humble. And when we, your people, cry out to you, you answer. Worshipful are you. Everyone saying to you, saying, who is like you among the powers? Who is like you? Mighty, awesome, awesome for praise, doer of wonders. Yahuwah, you shall reign everlasting, our Redeemer. Yahuwah of hosts is your name. The Kaddish ones of Yisrael, worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, Redeemer of Yisrael, and it is so.
It is so.
And it is so. Let's have this.
Worthy, worthy, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. I say, worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. I say, worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, worthy of my praise, Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise, worthy of Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy, worthy. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Worthy of my praise. Yahuwah is worthy of my praise.
Regardless of what we face, He is still worthy. No matter what we are challenged with, He's still worthy.
Yes.
He's still worthy. No matter what we go through, He's still worthy. And it is so. You are Kaddish, and your name is Kaddish, and Kaddish must praise you every day. Selah. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, the Kaddish Savior, during the days of our Kaddish King. Moshe rejoiced at the giving of his portion, just as you called him servant, a diadem of splendor. You placed on his head when he stood before you on Mount Sinai. In his hand he brought down 2 stone tablets, and the keeping of the Sabbath is written in them. And likewise it is written in your Torah. And the sons of Yisrael kept the Sabbath to do the Sabbath in all their generations, as an everlasting covenant. It is an everlasting sign between myself and them. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the Shemayim and the earth, and on the 7th day he ceased and rested. Our Savior, Savior of our forefathers, find esteem in our rest. Sanctify us by your commandments. Give us our portion in your Torah. Rejoice our souls in your deliverance. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. And bestow unto us your Kaddish Sabbaths with love and esteem. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, who sanctifies the Sabbath. And it is so. Esteem us your people, O Yahuwah, our Savior, and our prayers and the prayers of our family, Yisrael. Restore service to the inner chamber of your temple, and allow our praise and worship to be acceptable in thy sight. And accept our prayers and our offerings, the prayers and offerings of our family, Yisrael, with esteem. May our service and the service of our family, Yisrael, always find esteem. And may our eyes behold your compassion return to Yisrael, that we find esteem as of old. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, who restores your dwelling in the midst of us, your people, Yisrael. As we bow in this place before our King, recite this with me. We give you thanks that you are He who is.
We give you thanks that you are He who is.
Yahuwah, our Savior.
Yahuwah, our Savior.
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever.
For our lives committed into your hand.
For our lives committed into your hand.
Our souls entrusted to you.
Our souls entrusted to you.
And for your miracles and compassions.
And for your miracles and compassions.
That are at every moment.
That are at every moment.
Evening and morning.
Evening and morning.
For everything.
For everything.
For everything.
For everything.
Be worshipped and exalted.
Be worshipped and exalted.
For you are sovereign.
For you are sovereign.
And there is one beside you.
And there is one beside you.
Your Son.
Your Son.
Our strength.
Our strength.
Our kinsman redeemer.
Our kinsman redeemer.
Yahusha.
Yahushua.
Our Hamashiach.
Our Hamashiach.
Worshipful are you.
Worshipful are you.
O Yahuwah.
O Yahuwah.
Most benevolent.
Most benevolent
is your name.
is your name.
And it is fitting.
And it is fitting
to give you thanks.
to give you thanks.
And it is fitting.
And it is fitting
to give you thanks.
to give you thanks.
While we're still yet bowed, repeat this with me. We are grateful to you.
We are grateful to you you.
O Yahuwah, our Savior.
O Yahuwah, our Savior.
Savior of all flesh.
Savior of all flesh.
Our Maker.
Our Maker.
Maker of all creation.
Maker of all creation.
Praise and thanksgiving.
Praise and thanksgiving.
Be to your great.
Be to your great
and Kaddish name.
and Kaddish name.
That you gave us life.
That you gave us life.
And sustain us.
And sustain us.
And so may you continue.
And so may you continue
To grant us life.
to grant us life
And sustain us.
and sustain us.
And gather our exiles.
And gather our
To
exiles
the courts of your sanctuary.
to the courts of your
To
sanctuary.
keep your statutes.
To keep your statutes.
Do your will.
Do your will.
And to serve you.
And to serve you.
Wholeheartedly.
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 For this to you.
For this to you.
We are grateful.
We are grateful.
For this to you.
For this to you.
We are grateful.
We are grateful.
And it is so.
And it is so.
To what our hands are willing to do. Our Savior said through our forefathers, Baruch us with the threefold Baruch the Torah, given to Haran and his sons, the priests of your Kaddish people, as it is stated. Yahuwah Baruch you and keep you. Yahuwah make his countenance shine upon you and be merciful to you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and grant you shalom. And they shall place my name upon the sons of Yisrael, and I shall Baruch them. In Midbar chapter 6, verses 24 through 27. And it is so.
It is so.
Place shalom, goodness, and baruching upon us, and mercy, loving kindness, and compassion. And baruch us all with the light of your countenance, for from the light of your countenance, O Yahuwah, our Savior, you gave us Torah and life, loving kindness, uprightness, and shalom. And it is good in your eyes to baruch us your people, Yisrael, at every moment. Worshipful are you, O Yahuwah, who baruchs us his people, Yisrael, with shalom. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us bow in this place and repeat this with me. May the utterance of my mouth,
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart,
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock
and my redeemer,
and my redeemer.
may the utterance of my mouth,
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart,
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock
and my redeemer,
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited to him in 19 and 15. And it is so. Mishnah 15 and 8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceeding offensive to you, Abba Yahuwah, but the prayer of the upright forgives your delight. Mishnah 3 and 4, so shall you, we, find good understanding and high esteem in the sight of judgment of Yahuwah and man. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34 and 15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. Somebody say he's a strong deliverer.
He's a strong deliverer.
Say it again, he's a strong deliverer.
He's a strong deliverer.
He's my strong deliverer.
He's my strong deliverer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Acts 1 and 8, when you shall receive power after that, the Ruach HaKodesh shall come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and into Judea and Shamara and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1 and 1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it. Yithrach 11 and 6, for without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It takes belief to be obedient, diligent, and disciplined. Ayah 33 and 4. The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Micah 4 and 8. But truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yisrael his sin. And it is so.
It is so.
Yehukin and Aleph 5, 4 and 5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yahushua is the Son of Yahuwah? Yehukin and Aleph, chapter 2, verses 5 and 6, 6 being the first verse. He who says he abides in him also ought himself also to walk, just as he walked. Verse 5, but whoever keeps his word, truly the love of Yahuwah is perfected in him. In him, by this we know that we are in him. Verse 17, the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again, abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Our last declaration. Let's prepare to say it together. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the mighty name of your Son,
in the mighty name of your Son,
Yahusha,
Yahushua,
our Hamashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim
we claim
healing,
healing,
salvation,
salvation,
shalom,
shalom,
and deliverance.
and deliverance.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives of your people,
in the lives of your people,
our people, Yisrael.
Yisrael.
We unite
We unite
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other, but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief,
But the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated. As we have come together this time of Sabbath class, I know it is for those of us that feel locally, it is a little warm in here. Just a tad bit. For us, I do apologize for that. Yeah, I was running with the unit, and sometimes things always happen. Not always, at the perfect time. You got a week of everything look like going wrong, but you still look for what's coming right, and that's the Sabbath rest. A time to rest, a time to commemorate, a time to celebrate His love for us as a people. So we put those things on the back burner and we deal with them later. And that's just the type of people we are. We deal with it later. I live for this. And one of my favorite movies, Triple X. Vin Diesel is on the back of the plane with a parachute tied on him. And they're pushing everybody out. And he looks in the camera and he says, I live for this. I live for this. So it's important that we understand everything is not going to fall in line just because it's the Sabbath.
Right.
But we still got to remember to keep the Sabbath atmosphere. I don't want to say spirit, but keep the Sabbath joy, love, and mentality.
That's right. That's right.
We can't allow these things to distract us and deter us from what we're supposed to do.
That's right.
Because if we do, then we'll find ourselves not celebrating and enjoying ourselves. I don't know about you, I'm enjoying myself anyway.
Right. That's right.
Because I'm not a survivor, I'm a winner.
That's right.
That's right. I'm a winner. When you're a winner, you go at it, you take it, and you go and strive. As we have come together today in this our Sabbath class, our theme this week is Jakat, which is decree of. Which is decree of. And we're coming from the Midbar chapter 19, verses 1 through chapter 22. But on today we're going to take up at Shoftim, which is Judges chapter 11. As I do a recap of what we spoke on last night, as we talked about the red heifer, the uniqueness of this sacrifice, and how this sacrifice was a female cow, and she had not been yoked, and it was different. This was a different sacrifice because everybody that was involved with this particular sacrifice became unclean. They were to take the red heifer and present her to Eleazar. Yeah. And as they presented her to him, then they were to take her outside of the camp and they were to burn her with everything, her excretions, basically everything that came from her body. And then they were to take cedar, hyssop, and there was one more. It was one. Scarlet, thank you. It was hyssop, cedarwood, and scarlet. Now, cedarwood smells very good. Hyssop smells very good. I've not smelled scarlet, but I'm inclined to believe It was to cover the over, because you're talking about burning bone, skin, leather, and feces, urine. Anything that was in that body was to be burned. And if you've ever burned anything, it stinks, especially if you're burning a corpse. But they were to put that in there, but they were to take the ashes that were left, and they were to put it aside, because this was to be a sin offering for those that would touch dead people, dead bodies. And so it was important that this was done, and that it was handled in the right manner. That the children of Israel, regardless of what they see, continue to mumble and complain. They come from one extreme, come from one situation, and it still wasn't enough, because they still were mumbling and complaining against Yahuwah. It is also in this setting that we see Moshe loses out, because when Yahuwah told him to speak to the rock, he hit the rock twice. And Yahuwah says, because you didn't believe and you did not exalt me in front of the people, you will not go into the promised land. Let me tell you something. We're in a time that we got to look at the life of Moshe, not duplicate he's done.
Right.
Because Yahuwah is looking for us to esteem him and to exalt him in the midst of other people.
That's right.
Regardless of what's going on. We still have complainers. We still have people that are still in that circle, that vacuum, right, vacillating in the same thing. If they don't rest until they're stirring up trouble. They don't rest until they are making somebody's life or trying to make somebody's life miserable.
Right.
So you've got to understand, no matter what other people are doing and no matter what and how they are fixing their lives, we better stay true to the instructions that he's given us.
That's right.
We better remember his judgments, his statutes, and his testimonies. Because those are the very things that help us to be reminded to stay committed.
Right.
To stay committed to him. We see again when they got ready to travel. They wanted to travel and they came across the king of Edom and he wouldn't let them pass through. He wouldn't let them pass through. The king of Sihon wouldn't let them pass through. But they towed him up. They took his land and took everything he had, since he didn't want to let them through. And he went out to war with them. I guess he thought he was just going to go out there and beat them. And boy, Yahuwah showed him a thing. But then immediately right after that, what happened? The children of Israel again found themselves complaining. We do not want to be in the complaining congregation. Oh, it's this, it's that. We don't have enough of this. We don't have enough of that. Be thankful for what you have, because somebody ain't got nothing. Some people are dead. And you have done holds a whole new meaning. Dead is not what a lot of people think it is. When you're dead, you're dead. Are we understanding?
Yes.
That's why he said that if we do his will, we'll do what? We'll abide forever. When you abide forever, you don't die. Are we understanding?
Yes.
We go to sleep, we don't die. So we must understand there are people out there that don't have. But we complain and we complain and we complain. And then if we're not complaining, we do all manner of other evil against Yahuwah. And we think it's okay. I was in the office and I was really questioning. I said, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. I don't want to be doing something I'm thinking is right and is wrong. Because we have gotten into a time with our people that it's almost like everything goes. Ain't nothing wrong. You can do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and it's all right. And I'm saying to myself, okay, then where do we draw the line? We understand what sin is. Sin is breaking or transgressing the laws or the instructions of Abba Yahuwah. We understand that. But at the same time, there is so much that's being added to where now we have this big old vast opening that now it's almost like it doesn't matter. Whatever you do is fine, honey. Just long as you say you Ibram, and just long as you look the part, you're fine. It ain't about looking the part. It's about being what he's called us to be. And that is a set-apart people. Being set apart. Because I don't care how much you have on you. I don't care if it's sweeping the floor. If we don't have the character and we don't uphold his statutes, his commands, his testimonies, and his judgments, we're no different than the people out there that don't wear them.
That's right.
This is why we have to understand we can't afford to be arrogant and pompous and proud in the sense that now we walk around with our heads up like this. In there, you don't understand who I am. I'm Ibram. He never called us to be arrogant and nasty. And sometimes we be that way with our own. We are that way with our own. We got our nose all up in the air and we're nasty. This is not what he's calling us. We are the children of power. That means our lives are going to be different. Your character is going to be different. Your disposition is going to be different. You have to understand, I'm a no-nonsense person. I don't play all them games. I said not to you, said tricks are for kids, not for adults. And when you are ready to truly mature and move on and see the things of y'all, you don't have time for all that. Am I saying we can't laugh? Absolutely, because I love laughing. Anybody that can't laugh and want to act like they so starchy, them the type of people you need to move away from. I like laughing. I love enjoying myself because that's what he did. Yahuwah enjoyed himself. We ain't supposed to walk around here all starchy and stiff-necked. Like we've been sucking on lemons all day or standing over a trash can all day. No, we're supposed to smile. We're supposed to show the world that this life, living for Yah, is a good thing. I love living this life. It's not miserable. I'm not miserable. I'm not disgruntled. I love the Sabbath rest. I do. Why? Because it allows me to understand the relationship that he desires with us as his people. But we got to pull it in. They complained and they complained. And that was the whole thing. That's all they did was complain. They complained, complained. No matter what they saw Yahuwah do, they still in their mouths had that taste on their palates to complain. If they weren't complaining about water, they were complaining about food. If they weren't complaining about food, they were complaining about, well, how long is it going to take? You have to understand, when you start allowing your mouth and your heart to complain, that will become your regimen of the day. You'll wake up complaining. You go to sleep complaining. You drink complaining. And some of us really look at our lives. Some of us really could complain. But I refuse. And I don't mean I won't get straight now. That ain't complaining. I mean, I'm going to tell you, okay, we need to fix this. We need to get this straight. I complain. I said, look, let's get this done. Complaining is when you just sit there when you know something is done and it's being an effort made to get it done, but yet you're still over there walking. Are we understanding? Yes. They saw what Yahuwah was doing. They experienced his power. They experienced his hand in moving doors, moving obstacles out of their way, opening doors, but yet it was not enough. This is why relationship is important. Somebody say relationship.
Relationship.
Say it again, relationship.
Relationship.
This is why our relationship with him has to be solid. Because when you want to complain, you'll begin to remember Yahushua, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 8. And you'll keep that in your mouth. Now understand, complaining and correcting a person is two different things. Because me complaining to you ain't going to get it done, but me correcting you will. There's a difference. So we can't get the two confused. Sometimes we tend to, well, all they do complain. No, let's look at it now. If they're telling you we need to get this done, and watch, you're looking at from point A to point C, and you're still looking at A because ain't nothing happening at A, but you at C. It's not complaining, baby. That's saying we need to get this done. And we need to understand that. But they were complaining after they had seen the might and the mighty work of Yahuwah. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught up in that same system, that same mindset to complain. We got to continue to pray. Are we understanding?
Yes.
I'm talking about really pray. See, because you got. I think different types of kind of prayer that you know you guys are with Yahuwah. You know, it's no, and I'm full of tears because I'm saying, Yahuwah, I really need your help right now. I need to know what steps I need to make.
Right.
Then there are those times that you go to him and I'm talking about you all open. Y'all, I need you. I need you. Because I don't want to miss what you're doing. I don't want to become a part of the complaining congregation.
Right.
I don't want to become a part of those who are onlookers but not getting involved. I don't want to be that. I want to be what he's calling me to be. And I want to listen to what he's saying. And watch this. Do you not know you can listen to what he's doing? Because you have to understand everything that Yahuwah does, it still has a sound to it.
Right.
It has a sound, but we've got to be sensitive to hear what he's doing. And once again, not get caught up in a whole lot of stuff. Y'all, it's a lot of stuff happening out here in this world.
Right.
And people are getting so over inundated with stuff. As I said, I was sitting in there, and there are times where he really begins to really deal with me about a lot of stuff. I don't know if anybody's ever really seen the movie. I know we had 28 weeks later, or 28 weeks. 28 days? 28 days? Yeah, the first 28 days. All right. Well, you have to understand, we are movie connoisseurs, and 28 days later is about a movie, and it is about a movie that deals with rap, believe it or not. It's gruesome. Now, it ain't for people that don't watch, horror movies. I do. I watch horror movies every now and then. I know how far to go. But this movie has a really good meaning to it. What they did was they took monkeys, baboons, I believe it was, and they put them in front of about 50 screens. And all they saw on those screens was murder, killing, murder, killing, same thing. They saw murder, they saw all types of destruction and chaos, and they did this for 24 hours. 24 hours. What it did, it contaminated the blood. And it basically made them aggressive, and it made them become poisonous. So that anything they touched, their saliva, their blood got on, they turned them to. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because this is what the social media is trying to do to us as a people.
Right.
You can believe that if you want to, and you don't have to if you don't want to. But when you get on the social media, and you hear me say this time and time again, most of the time the stuff is not censored. When it looks like some stuff should be, you start thinking, you pull that post down and they wouldn't do nothing but tell the truth, but you'll let that stay out.
Right.
They are selective in what they're pulling. Why? Because if they can continue to over-inundate you with a whole lot of this stuff, guess what they're doing? They're trying to poison your blood.
Right.
In other words, they're trying to poison your reasoning. They're trying to poison you. Do you not know they want us to rise up and to begin to fight back?
Right.
Do you not know they want you to rise up and start shooting these cops? Do you not know they want you to do that? Why? Because the moment you do that, now understand, I'm not saying that we're supposed to let cops beat us all across the head now. Now I'm going to leave that right there. Because I don't want nobody saying Prophet Brown said to fight them back and shoot and do all that. I'm not saying that, but I am saying this. You better learn how to use wisdom.
Right.
Use wisdom. Sometimes we don't use wisdom.
Right.
But all this stuff is going on, and you sit there and you watch it day to day. Some people be on their social media 24 hours. I'm like, how do you do this? Sometimes I have to get off of it and shake my head. I am serious. Sometimes I get off of it and I be like, y'all, I don't get it. I don't understand. And I'm not talking about in other communities. I'm talking about in our communities.
Right.
Where we're supposed to be uplifting one another. Where we're supposed to be actually getting that stuff out. And we're supposed to be putting in stuff that help us to become a unit, a card.
Right.
To build our belief. We posting up all kind of crazy stuff. Sometimes that stuff I be want to get on there, boy. I told them the profanity was this. Chicken feet and turkey thighs with cheese. That's profanity. That's what the people make you want to get on there and say. Chicken feet and turkey thighs with cheese on it. Sounds crazy and far-fetched, doesn't it? But that's the stuff they make you really want to get on there and say because of the stuff they put on there. You start thinking we're the people of power. I can guarantee you, if you went to Prince Charles' home, when they sit at that table, I can guarantee you, they talk nothing about the crazy stuff that's going on the outside.
Right.
You know what they're doing? They're making plans for their babies. They're making future plans for their future. Well, we sitting up showing the same thing. Now, understand, my heart goes out. But we'll sit up and we'll show a clip 1,000,000 times of somebody getting hurt. We've seen it. My heart goes out, y'all, but this is what they're doing. They're trying to contaminate our reasoning.
Right.
They're trying to contaminate us to where we get to a point where you say, I've had my full. If somebody touches me, the first person does this, I'm blowing their brains out. And guess what? When you speak that into the atmosphere and your heart is set, guess what? You're going to react, or you're going to do, you're going to move upon what you said.
Right.
And that's what they do. Some of that stuff, I said, my goodness, from cooking a basic meal, putting it in a community. Then somebody's coming, but I thought we ain't supposed to eat this. And I would say, but I thought you could read too.
Right.
You can't read? Vayikra chapter 11, where he gives us the kosher foods.
Right.
But then they want to fight against that. Well, you got to say something. I'm scared of you because now you want to try to change the scriptures. There's something wrong with that. There's a major problem. And what happens when this happens? Now you contaminated folk. And watch what happens. Folks start doing the same thing. Now people start complaining again. Now people get all caught up in the same thing. And all it does is become a cycle that continues. On and on and on and on and on. And then when you say the cycle has to be broken, then that's when people look at you like you're stupid. Because they don't see that there's a problem with this. The only reason they get this much exposure is because we give it to them.
Right.
We give it to them. Now, we don't know that who holds and who is basically over the media. We know that the Jews are. So if we know this, then why do we keep playing into their games?
Right.
All the stuff that's happening, they know how to take one clip out of millions of clips, put that on there, and we'll get it, and we'll take it, and we'll send it through 1 million plus. Mm-hmm. And have everybody on pins and needles. Or people will be like, I don't care, that's why I don't fool with them anyway. I saw a post that kind of really made me mad, but it also made me think of how we conduct ourselves. It's that them Hebrew Israelites, they mentally crazy. You got to understand, I'm not mentally crazy, but he's still talking about me.
Right.
Because I'm not going to disassociate myself from those that are out there doing stuff. Because those are still our people. So when you say they are, you basically said I'm crazy too.
Right.
Why? Because when we understand we are a people, we are a nation, don't disassociate yourselves from them. Because when you say that's them, you've already disconnected yourself.
Right.
Now, if they crazy, then maybe we are all crazy. But the bottom line is, we've got to learn once again and watch how we do things. How can we win people if people think we're crazy?
Right.
If people think we're crazy. Now, you understand there's some people that have their own personal opinion. But when you start seeing the stuff and you start looking and saying to yourself, now, we got to back up a little bit, y'all, because it almost seems like they're telling the truth. Because some of us do act like something's a little wrong with us. The stuff that comes out of our mouths, because we don't pray before we speak. It's beyond thinking. Are we praying before we engage? Are we praying before we speak? Are we just jumping up doing something? I don't post and I don't do until Yahuwah moves me to do something.
Right.
Because I'm not going to just be up there trying to keep up with the trend. Why? Because you do more harm than you help. Because you're just putting stuff out there, That's almost like sowing seeds. And that's almost like you just doing all this crazy stuff. No, it's important that we understand how we are supposed to do these things.
That's right.
Oh, we understand.
Yes.
It's important that we understand that. All right. And so we learn and we see that all they did was complain. Complain, complain, and complain. We've got to learn that if you complain, you will never be able to get anywhere. And it is so. So we've got to change our position. Now we come into Shoftim, the book of Judges. And we're going to see an expansion and see what was taking on and taking place in that time. Chapter 11. And we're going to read 3 verses apiece, starting at verse 1, chapter 11. Once again, our theme this week is Chakat, which means decree of. Decree of. So everything that we're reading, it is a decree of something. It is a decree that we are to follow. It is decreed by Yahuwah and not man. Moshe was just the messenger to give it to the children of Yisrael. And it is so. All right, 3 verses.
Now Yavgah, the Gileadite, was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of a harlot. And Gilead begat Yaphtah, and Gilead's wife bare him sons, and his wife's son grew up. And they thrust out Yaphtah, and said to him, You shall not inherit in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman. Then Yaphtah fled from his brother and dwelt in the land of Tob. And there were gathered worthless men to Yaphtah, and went out with him.
Now, is that not a description? Now, isn't it amazing? Now, Gilead Now Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of a harlot. And Gilead begat Jephthah, and Gilead's wife bare him sons, and his wife's sons grew up. Now he was already there, but they grew up, and they thrust out Jephthah, and said to him, "You shall not inherit in our Abba's house, for you are the son of another woman." You should think about what I would say first. Mentality. And this is the mentality that we cannot afford to have either. We cannot do that. Are we understanding?
Yes.
Now listen what happens. Verse 3, and Jephthah fled from his brethren and dwelt in the land of Tob, and there were gathered worthless men to Jephthah, and went out with him. That's something, is it not?
Yes.
Worthless men, but they found something in common that they were able to come together and go out together with. Because remember, he was what? A mighty man of valor. In other words, he was a man of strength. He was a man of purpose. He was a man of goals. He was a man of vision. He was a visionary. Are we understanding?
Yes.
And so other people may look at it and say they ain't nobody, but they saw something in him, and he saw something in them. All right, 4, 5, and 6, please.
After a time, the Ammonites made war against Israel, and when the Ammonites made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead were to bring Jephthah from the land of Tob. And they said to Jephthah, "Come and be our leader, that we may fight against the Ammonites." And Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in distress?"
And just go.
And so,
Now, once again, isn't it amazing? That's just the mentality. And so it was that when the children of Ammon made war against Yisrael, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said to Jephthah, "Come and be our commander, that we may fight with the children of Ammon." Now, you have to understand, they thrust him out. Well, his family did, because they felt like, well, you don't have an inheritance. Now they come back, because remember, this man was a man of what? Valor. He was a man of war. So he knew what to do.
Right.
But see, they got all within themselves thinking, well, you don't deserve nothing, because guess what your mama was? Guess what your abba was? So you don't get a part of this. This is important that we don't find ourselves doing the same thing. Now watch what he says in verse 7. And Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Do you not hate me and expel me out of my Abba's house? And why have you come now to me when you are in distress?" In other words, they knew what was taking place and they did not even intervene.
Right.
Like we see stuff even today where folk won't intervene. You know when you can intervene. If you can't, then don't. But people will watch stuff happen and won't open their mouth and won't even engage to try to help.
Right.
That's something is wrong with that. And they do the same thing, thrust folk out. If they're not trying to get rid of, destroy their character, their credibility, then they're physically trying to disassociate them and basically cut them off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that we understand that we don't do those things.
Right.
This man had the ability to do these things, but once again, they didn't intervene, but now they're in distress. Sounds like a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yes.
As soon as stress happens, boy, they got your number on speed dial. They know how to get to you when they need something. All right, now, listen what he said. Verse 8, and the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Therefore we turn again to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Now, once again, they're asking him to put his life on the line for them when they didn't even want to give him a chance. They just wanted to thrust him out because of his lineage, or basically because of his evil. They didn't want him around. Mighty funny, people get all stank when they look at your life, but then when they see what you're capable of doing, they'll vote want you in their corner. Ooh, they can fight. I want them with me. They can take somebody out. I want them with me. But when you didn't know I could do that, you didn't care nothing about me.
Right.
You didn't want nothing to do with me. You just thought me of, that's the way people do. And it's bad that people do that. They wait only till they get in that situation where they really need you to come. That should not be said of us. We ought to always be open and be able to deal with one another. But once again, this is the mentality sometimes of a lot of people. I've been in it, or my blood is purer than yours. I already said where my blood is. I'm still Israel. You ain't knocking me out of this. You have a good old fight on your hands. I'm telling you right now, no. But I know I am, because my great-great-grandmother was. On both sides. Do I know what tribe? Nope. And actually right now, I really don't care what tribe. I just know they're in it. That we have in our blood. Why? Because that's not what's going to get me that's not what makes me close to him. What makes me close to him is living right.
Right.
Are we understanding? Too many of us use our names as a badge and as a charm. What about just loving him? What about just being in that place to where he looks at you and calls you son or calls you daughter? That's what I want to be known as. Are we understanding?
Yes.
That's what we need to do. So we need to watch that. All right, 9, 10, and 11, please.
Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, if you take me back home to fight against the children of Ammon, and Yahuwah gives them to me, am I to be your head? And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, Yahuwah is witness between us, if you do not do according to your words. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people said, come over them, as said and commanded. And Jephthah spoke all his words before Yahuwah and Mizpah.
And it is so. He said, all right, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Ain't no need to tarry. Let's go. All right, 12, 13, 14.
And Jephthah sent messengers to the sovereign of the children of Ammon, saying that it is between you and me that you have spoken to fight against me in my hand. And the sovereign of the children of Ammon said to the messengers of Jephthah, because Israel took my land away when they came out of Mitzrayim from as far as into the garden, and now give back those lands with peace. But your blood again sent messengers to the sovereign of the children
What I 12, 13, and 14. And Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the children of Ammon, saying, what have you to do with me, that you are come against me to fight in my land? And the king of the children of Ammon answered to the messengers of Jephthah, because Yisrael took away my land, when they came up out of Mitzrayim, from Arnon, even to Yabuk, and to Yarden. Now therefore restore those lands again peaceably. Now they talking about give us back what belongs to us. And Jephthah sent messengers again to the king of the children of Ammon, 15, 16, and 17. Fifteen, 16, 17.
Verse 15. And said to him, thus says Jephthah, Yisrael did not take the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. But when Yisrael came up from Mitzrayim, and walked through the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds, and came to Kadesh. Then Yisrael sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, please let me pass through your land. And the king of Edom would not hearken thereto. And in like manner they sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. Yisrael abode in Kadesh.
And it is so. And he says to him, but when Yisrael came up from Mitzrayim and walked through the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds and came to Kadesh, then Yisrael sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, please let me pass through your land. But the king of Edom would not hearken thereto. And in like manner they sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent, and Yisrael abode in Kadesh. Now remember, they didn't want to let him through. And you have to understand the reason why Edom didn't want to do it, because those are the descendants of Esau. And so they already had beef because of the situations that that took place even during the burial of Yaakov. And so we see that this thing was an ongoing feud with family. And so they were like, we are not, and if you do, we will come down and fight you. So they had to take a whole nother route. and they took another route, but they did engage in war. So once again, this is a person, they're coming up saying, no, you took it, but he's basically reading them right to say, no, we had to go in this manner, and this is the manner that we took, because we had no other way to go. If they'd have let us go through there, we wouldn't even have no problems. But once again, he got beat up and got his stuff took. That's like somebody coming trying to rob you, and you robbed them.
Right.
That's my scenario. You rob me, I'm gonna rob you, and I'm gonna take everything you got. You stick them up, give me what you got. No, I think we're gonna fix that and change that. No, you stick them up and give me what you got. No, so that's what happened to them. They got stuck up thinking they were gonna stick them up, thinking that, you know, oh, we got them now because they didn't went through this. They're probably weak now. Don't ever estimate your opponent.
Right.
Just because a person may look weak doesn't mean they're weak.
Right.
And I saw a post said, "Don't test me." Don't test me. All right, 18, 19, 20, please.
Then they went along through the wilderness and compassed the land of Edom, and the land of Moab, and came by the east side of the land of Moab, and pitched on the side of Arnon, but came not within the border of Moab. For Arnon was the border of Moab. And Yasharel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites. The king of Heshbon and Yasharel said to him, Please let us pass through. Please let us pass through your land into my place. But Sihon trusted not Yasharel to pass through his coast. But Sihon gathered all his people together and pitched in Yahatz and fought against Yasharel.
And it's so, once again, they didn't trust him, so they fought against him. All right, 21, 22, 23.
And Yahuwah, power of Yasrael, delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Yasrael. And they smote them. So Yasrael possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country. Verse 22. And they possessed all the coast of the Amorites, from Arnon even to Yabok, and from the wilderness even to Yarden. Verse 23. So now Yahuwah, power of Yasrael, has dispossessed the Amorites from before his people, Yasrael. And should you then possess it?
Once again, he's a man of war, and he's a man of wisdom.
Right.
And so basically he's telling them, he's reading them, basically reading them their rights. He said, and Yahuwah, power of Yasrael, delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Yasrael. And they smote them. So Yasrael possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country, because they went out trying to fight them. All they had to do was leave them alone. And they possessed all the coasts of the Amorites, from Arnon even to Yabok, and from the wilderness even to Yarden. So now Yahuwah, power of Yasrael, has dispossessed the Amorites from before his people Yasrael. And should you then possess it? In other words, it's not yours. How you feel you're going to get it? We took it, it's ours. You know, that's like somebody, you go and take something from somebody else and they say, well, that was mine. Well, you didn't get it. So what you think, I'm just going to hand it over to you because I have it now? No, that's mine and you're not getting it. And so we see this, once again, you start looking at all of these things that have taken place and how how our family, the children of Yasrael, how they had to go in different places, how they were denied access to different things and how they had to move here, move there. And so in that, we still see that there were still those that stayed committed, but then you still saw those that had that way about it. And then you see here where they basically booted him out of his family and they actually needed him. This is why you can't just go and be removing people. And I say this not to be facetious. That's why we can't be looking at people and basically trying to determine based upon bloodline, you know, whether or not they're fitting or if they are fit to do what is necessary. He was already a man of valor. It was those that sprung up with him, his half-brothers, well, I'll say his whole brothers, that were with him. And they don't want to start looking, well, why should he? His mama is, you know, as a harlot. It doesn't matter what his mama was. Yahuwah saw fit to put his hand upon his life. Now, mind you, his uncle was still Gilead. That's right. So he still by right had the right to inherit what was his. But then when you have those that want to be smart, well, it ain't all in them, so they can't get it. And they end up putting out the person they needed. Then they have to go back and get him for help. And so we got to be careful, and we have to make wise judgments, and above all, pray before you start jumping out doing stuff.
Right.
All right, come on, let's read.
will you not possess that which Chemosh, the mighty one, gives you to possess?
Mhm.
So whomsoever Yahuwah, our power, shall drive out from before us, them will we possess. And now are you any better than Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever strive against Yasreel? Or did he ever fight against them? While Yasreel dwelt in Heshbon, and in her towns, and in Aurora, and her towns, and in all the cities that be along by the coast of Ammon, 300 years, why therefore did you not recover them within that time?
Once again, this boy is smart. The diplomat. He understood his rights. He understood. Now, mind you, but they talked about him because his mother was what? A harlot. It's the unlikely people that you don't believe has the wisdom that makes stuff happen and get things done that we disregard. We throw him to the side. Oh, she need to shut up because she's a woman. Oh, he need to be quiet because he don't have all of it. You know, his blood is tainted. So we got to be careful with the things that we say and do. Are we understanding?
Yes.
Especially when we see it in this manner. He said, oh boy, he put it right back in there. He said, while Yasreel, verse 26, dwelt in Heshbon and her towns and in Aroer, her towns and in the cities that are along by the coast of Arnon, 300 years. Why therefore did you not recover them within that time? You start thinking, yeah, why didn't you go and get it? That's almost like I say, somebody go see you get something set on the side of the road, and it's been there, and then you go get it. Well, that's mine. Well, the whole time it sat there, why didn't you go and get it?
Right.
Oh, I want it now because it seems like it's easier because y'all done cleaned it up and got it ready, so I want it now. I don't think so. I done cleaned it up and did everything. Now you want to claim it? No. I don't think so. No. All right, 27, 28, 29.
I therefore have not sinned against you, and you do me wrong by making war on me. Yahuwah the judge decide this day between the people of Israel and the people of Ammon. But the king of the Ammonites did not listen to the words of Yahtah that he sent to him. Then the Ruach of Yahuwah was upon Yahtah, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and passed on to Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed on to the Ammonites.
And it is so. He said, therefore I have not sinned against you, but you did me wrong to war against me. Yahuwah be the judge this day between the children of Yasreel and the children of Ammon. Now, once again, he had a level head, he had a cool head, and his whole thing was, hey, let's deal with this right. Now, once again, he didn't just go and fight them. He tried to what? Reason with them in the beginning.
Right.
So he didn't just go blazing. We're just going to blow up everybody. We're just going to shoot and kill everybody. Anything that have eyeballs and that's looking, we're going to cut it down. No, he had wisdom. And he went. Now, watch this. And because the king would not listen because he was foolish, he ended up losing out. Oh, we understand it. That's why you can't be with people that don't have no wisdom.
Right.
But the king of the children of Ammon hearkened not to the words of Yahtah, which he sent him. Verse 29, then the Ruach of Yahuwah came upon Yahtah, and he passed over Gilead, Manasseh, and passed over Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed over to the children of Ammon. So I'm thinking, he probably wished then, I wish I would have listened to reason.
Right.
Because some things I believe could have been diffused, but when it's impossible, it's just impossible. All right, 30, 31, and 32.
And Yahtah made a vow to Yahuwah and said, if you will give the Ammonites into my hand, then whatever comes out from the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the Ammonites, shall be Yahuwah's. And I will offer it up for a burnt offering. So Yahtah crossed over the Ammonites to fight against them, and Yahuwah gave them into his hands.
And it is so. All right. Now, this is where we have to be careful with vows that come out of our mouths. Never be irrational with a vow.
Right.
Always, when you prepare to make a vow, make sure it is a vow that you are ready to deal with. But most of the time when people make vows, sometimes, and this is not everybody, when they make a vow, especially to Yahuwah, it is because they are in trouble. I've made plenty of them when I was in Christianity. Y'all, if you get me out of this, I will do this. If you just help me pay this bill, I won't do this again. If you help me do this, I'll do that. If you just please don't let this be, I'll do this, I'll live for you. You know how many times I said that? And you know you'll go right back out there and do the same thing you did. But you have to understand, this vow was different. He was being irrational with his mouth. Somebody will say, why? Because you have to understand, when you say whatever comes out of my house, you know what's living in your house.
Right.
So somebody's coming out that door. And sometimes it may not be the one you likely believe or want to come out the door, but the door. When you say out the door,
Right.
you're leaving it open. And we understand it. That's being irrational. Because now you're trying to offer up something
Right. Right.
really that you cannot in that matter. Are we understanding?
Yes.
All right, verse 33.
And he struck down from Aaron as far as the 20 cities and to Abel, with a very great slaughter and blessed the children of Israel for humble
And it is verse 33. And he smote them from Aurora even till coming to the Minute, even 20 cities, and to the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Yasrael. He went through there like a Tasmanian devil. He just destroyed everything. When I say he went, now you have to understand something. Yahuwah was going to give him this victory anyway, y'all. Because he had already anointed him to have the victory. This is where we have to let belief be the guide and not where we think that we can coerce Yahuwah. You have to understand, if he's chosen you to do something, you don't have to bargain or barter with him.
Right.
When we start making vows because we think that's going to get us closer, that's when we start stepping in unbelief. Now, if you make a vow and say, I'm going to do this, because this is what I want to do for you, that's one thing. But when you start saying, if you give me, that's conditional.
Right. Right.
Conditions can be broken and conditions can be altered. And the thing of it is, with this story, is that it becomes heartbreaking, but a lot of people believe that he, and the reason why I'm saying this up front, because a lot of people believe that he offered his daughter up as a burnt sacrifice. Now you have to understand, Yahuwah does not take humans as burnt sacrifice. Now let me say this, because I know the first thing people are going to say is, well then how is Yahusha the sacrifice? Because you have to understand, Yahusha was qualified, and this was his purpose and his mission,
Right.
to be a sacrifice.
Right.
Now you have to understand, he represents almost all of the 5 sacrifices that they offer. The shalom sacrifice, the sin offering, oh my goodness, the free will, which is the shalom. The shalom and the free will are the same. The transgression or the trespass offering. Those offerings. So he was the sin offering. And so he was all of those sacrifices.
Right.
He was all of those. And so when it is all said and done, he was even the burnt sacrifice. But he was not burnt. You have to understand what it represented. A sacrifice represented completely being sold out. In other words, when it was completely burned, that meant you were giving your complete self to Yahuwah. And that's the way we're supposed to be. We're supposed to give him everything about us. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. Nothing was to be left. And so, yes, he was a representation of the burnt offering. Why? Because he gave of himself without question.
Right.
Now, you have to understand, he was a sacrifice. And the manner that his sacrifice, or the way he was sacrificed and he was offered, was different. Now, you have to understand there were so many transliterations of what really took place. Now, you have to understand when it said to offer up as a burnt offering, you have to understand what a burnt offering represented. A burnt offering represented and was completely and totally, basically, you giving of your complete and entire self. All right? Yeah. Now, when he said that I will give whatever comes out the door as a burnt offering, it didn't necessarily mean that he was going to put her on the altar and burn her up.
Right,
In other words, she would be dedicated unto him just as Shemuel was dedicated to the house of Yahuwah. To serve in the house and do that. In other words, she would not be able to be married.
Right.
Her whole life would be dedicated to the ministry and to the tabernacle of Yahuwah. Never having children, but being dedicated to the house, not being placed on the altar and burnt. Because you have to understand, Yahuwah did not, because now that will put him in the same category as Molech and Baal.
Right, right.
So we have to understand, once again, we cannot go in with our eyes and our hearts closed and think, oh, he just burned her up. No, he gave her as an offering to Yahuwah to serve him all the days of her life. Because this was the vow he made for her because she was his daughter. So this is when we start talking about vows, and when you have, and where people get so crazy in the head, when they start talking about vows, when the father or the Abba can make a vow, or he can disannul a vow of his daughter, and the same thing a husband can do with his wife. Now you have to understand, what does that mean? It does not mean that if I make a vow, then I say, I'm going to give Yahuwah the first paycheck I make from my business. It doesn't mean, now my husband there's no reason for him to come and change that vow. But if I would have said this, and we were walking in truth in the very beginning of our marriage, I'm not having any children, I'm not about to do that, he could turn around and annul that vow, because that's a vow that I could not make.
Right, right.
And so could my Abba do that. This is where it comes into that type of basically disannulling and changing.
Right, right.
Not just somebody saying, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to praise Yahuwah and I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to fast today. Well, you can't do that. Why? Because you're just not going to. You have to understand the concept and the connotation of it.
Right,
if a woman is making a ridiculous, foolish vow, yes, her Abba and yes, her husband can turn around and disannul that vow.
Right.
This is how he was able to basically vow her, because he was over her, basically. And this is why when he said anything come out the door, he knew you have a daughter that's coming out the door. So she came out and he presented her. Now once again, you have to understand, he loved his daughter. But he made a vow to give her to Yahuwah so that she could serve in the tabernacle.
That's right.
Now once again, because Yahuwah does not want burnt and dead sacrifice of people. Are we understanding?
Yes.
There was only one sacrifice in that manner. And you have to understand, they didn't kill him. He did what? He gave up his life.
Right.
They didn't kill him. He said, I laid my life down. That's what makes it different. They did not kill him. He laid his life down. And this is why so many people can't get past that, because the first thing they say is, well, he don't want, because he don't take human sacrifices. Those are the people that do not read.
Right. Right.
And when they read, they don't read with understanding. Because you have to understand, we don't know, you got to understand, you cannot box Yahuwah in. But when you see the scriptures that line up and testify to one another and with one another, then you can show forth these things.
Right.
So it's important that we understand that his daughter was not burnt up alive. She was committed. Just like a burnt offering represented your complete and total commitment to Yahuwah. That's why I said I present myself as a burnt offering unto Abba Yahuwah, a complete offering. Are we understanding? Because I don't want any room for anything else.
Right.
You have to understand what the shalom offering represented. That meant that we were coming into fellowship. You fellowship with the brethren and the sister and with Yahuwah. Yahuwah had the fat. I like how they say it was almost like a barbecue. You would burn the fat on the grill. And anybody know anything about grilling too? When you put beef fat on the grill, whether you season it or not, it do smell good.
Right.
It smells real good. And so that's what was being offered. And the meat, they ate it, and then the priest took a portion of it, and they had a fellowship dinner. And that's how that went. So once again, we got to understand what the sacrifices represented and how Yahuwah was basically all of those sacrifices into one.
Right.
And it is so. All right. Now, let us turn our attention to Ibram, chapter 9. And you haven't said this. Chapter 9, verse 11. Two verses.
But Mashiach being coming as the Kohen Hagadol of good things have come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building. neither by the blood of goats and bulls, but by his own blood he entered in once into the set-apart place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. And it is so.
All right. Verse 11, but Hamashiach being coming as the Kohen HaKadosh, high priest of good things to things have come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and bulls, but by his own blood he entered in once into the set-apart place, having obtained eternal redemption for us, which is important for us to understand.
Right.
This is why we can't, we got to continue to hold on to Yahushua. I've seen so many people that have basically stopped believing in Yahushua
Right.
because they end up getting caught up with other people and get caught up in stuff and end up being deceived, and they start not believing in the Brit Hadasha because they say it's not valid and it's man-made, because the first thing they say is the new covenant. And I'm telling y'all, it's not the new covenant, it's the renewed covenant. And then you have to understand it's not the Old Testament, it's the first covenant. When we basically wean and purge our minds from those words and from that setting, then we'll be able to see things clearly. You have to understand, they knew exactly what they were doing when they put these things into the system and basically started doing that. Why? Because they knew there would be some of us that would hold on to it for dear life and would not be able to shake us loose from that belief. And so here it is, you got people that believe, and so therefore they believe so to now when somebody came in and said, well, Yahushua is not real because the Brit Hadasha, what they would say in the New Testament, is not real. So then they start researching, watch this, based upon the information that was given to them that continues to lead them in error. Now you have people saying that he doesn't exist. I will never say that. I don't care what they present. I already know what's in here.
That's right.
And I've had an experience with it. So I'm not letting nobody tell me anything different. Are we understanding?
Yes.
If they took all the information away, my heart is still fixed on knowing that he is the Son of Yahuwah.
That's right.
Because I know what he's done in my life. It's about relationship. When you just base it upon book knowledge or whatever, however you got it, that's going to pose a problem. Because if it's not in here, that's a problem. And it is so. All right, come on, let's read. We did 11, 12, let's do 13, 14, please.
Right? 13, with the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of the heifer, sprinkling the defiled sets apart for the cleansing of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of the Messiah, who through the everlasting Ruach offered himself unblemished to power, cleanse your conscience from the dead works and serve the living power. And it is so.
And it is so. There is a comparison drawn. What is termed called the coma of light and heavy between Hamashiach's blood and the blood of animals. Now we compared the blood. Once again, you have to understand Yahushua also gave himself willingly. He was not made, he willingly offered himself. Once again, he said, I lay down my life. No man takes my life. I lay it down. So nobody killed him. He laid down his life. All right, 15 and 16.
And because of this, he is the mediator of the renewed covenant, so that death having taken place for redemption of the transgressions under the first covenant, those who are called might receive the promise of the everlasting inheritance. For where a covenant is, it is necessary for the death of the covenant one to be established.
And it is so. And it is so. And for this cause he is the mediator of the renewed covenant, which by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions which were under the covenant that came before, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a will is presented, then it must out of necessity show the death of the maker. So we know who made the covenant. So it's important that we understand that. Now, most Bible translate this as the first covenant. The only trouble is that technically it was not the first covenant in the Torah. The first covenant was the one made with Adam on the list of covenants. And we saw that in the Greek word protos means before, in the order of time. So the covenant that came before was naturally one the one mentioned in Deuteronomy 29:1. The one made at Mount Nebo, or the one that came to be known as the renewed covenant. It was not the first covenant, but the seventh. And it shows the covenants, the Hadamic covenant, the animal covenant, and it goes on and on and on and on and shows that. Now, the importance with us understanding this is if we understand covenant, then we understand that this is not a New Testament, but it is the renewed covenant that he made for us. When we say under better conditions, in other words, the priestly order changed. The priestly order changed. And we have to understand it was necessary for him to die to release us as his bride so he could remarry us. For the Torah said no man could remarry his wife that had already gone married and had slept around. He could not marry her. But we see the example of this in Hosea chapters 1, 2, and 3. We see the example when he was told to go and marry a harlot and go have children of what? Harlotry. And we are the byproduct of that because we are the children of harlotry. That's why we did what we did. But now we're not living that life anymore. That's what we were, but we're no longer that. But the thing of it is, people have to admit that that's what they are or were. Now, he told him, he said, marry her. And then when it came time for her to be sold, he told her to go buy her off the auction block. Now, mind you, he had already told him, or it's already in the Torah, that a man cannot go back and remarry his wife. But this shows us the love of Yahuwah. So he was willing to go through whatever it took to make sure that he had that relationship with us by even giving up his life. Now you have to understand, for a lot of people that's hard to understand and conceive, but he was not going to break his own Torah. And he was married to us. So in order to remarry us, he had to give up his life. So it's important that we understand the depths and the heights and the width of his love for us as people. Are we understanding? Because verse 16 says it. For where a will is presented, then it must out of necessity show the death of the maker. And who made the covenant? Who made the covenant? Yes, he did. So it's something we have to understand that and know his love beyond measure. And it is beyond measure. The writer is showing the allegory. So if I was to make a will, then by definition I am forecasting my death at some point using human language. And it is shown. All right, come on, let's read.
For a covenant over those dead is not six. It is never valid while the covenanted wife is living. Therefore, not even the first covenant was instituted without covenant.
And it is so. For a will is of force after the men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the maker lives. That's another thing that people have to look at. Verse 8, thereupon, neither the covenant before was dedicated without blood. So blood has to be shed. 19 and 20.
For Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the Torah. He took the blood of calves and of goats with maiden, and scarlet wool, and hyssop, and sprinkled both the scroll and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah has enjoined to you.
And it is so. For when Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the Torah, he took of cows and of goats with ma'im and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the scroll and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah has enjoined to you. So it was showing that that was the covenant. Remember, that's when it was at Mount Sinai. This happened in Sheba 24 and 8, when Moshe threw the blood upon the people, which by necessity meant the writings were also sprinkled with blood. So that way the covenant is just like having a paper notarized. If you have two documentations, both have to be notarized to show that this is a legal binding covenant or contract. This is what it shows us. So that's why we ought to never have our heads down, no matter what situation we find ourselves in, when we're truly walking in his truth. Because we know it's a done deal. It's a done deal, and it is so. All right, let us read 21, 22.
Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry,
and almost all things are by the Torah purged with blood. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness.
There is no forgiveness without the shedding of what? Blood. And this is quoted from Vayikra 17:11. When animal blood is shed, it purges all sin if done with the right intention. Now you have to understand, when Yahushua came, he did it. He paid that price. But you have to understand something. Last I believe it was this month, or this month. Yahuwah gave me a revelation. You know, we used to say, "What can wash away my sins? Nothing but the what? The blood." Blood does not wash away anything. Blood stains it. If it can be washed away, that the blood can be washed away. It stains. Get a cut and even rub it on you. It'll stain you. Put it on your clothes. It'll stain your clothes. That's why they have to create dish detergent and all these other type of things, detergents and stuff, to get the staining of blood out of clothes. So blood does not wash away, it stains. That's why when Yahuwah looks at us as his people, he sees the stained blood of Yahusha upon our lives. Because it stains our lives, not wash away the sins. Watch it, it stains it and it covers it.
It's good.
It stains it and it covers it.
It's good.
But blood does not wash away anything.
That's right.
So that was what we were taught to believe, that it washed away. It didn't wash it away. It stained it. It stained it with his blood. So when Yahuwah sees us, he doesn't see that. He sees the blood of Yahusha upon our lives. That gives us right standing and gives us access to this relationship. This is why if you don't have the blood staining your life, you can't be forgiven. So therefore, you can't have access to the relationship. Are we understanding?
Yes.
This is important for us as a people, and it's important for the people that may be blind. Now they need to open up their eyes. Are we understanding?
Yes.
And so, all right, let's finish reading. Yes. No, where we at? Yes, I'm sorry.
Verse 23. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of belief, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure manner. Let us hold fast the profession of our belief without wavering, for he is diligent on this.
What do you say?
Verse 23.
23. Yes. He's committed. Verse 23.
Yes, he sends faithful upon us.
Oh, okay. Let me show him in the right place. I know I am. Verse 23. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in Shemaiah.
Are we Christian?
Yeah, what chapter 9? Are you in the right one? Yeah.
Oops.
3.
It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the Shemayim should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves were better sacrifices than these. For the Hamashiach is not entered into the set-apart places made with hands, which are the figures of the truth, but into Shemayim itself, now to appear in the presence of our forefathers.
And it is so. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in Shemayim should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Hamashiach is not entered into the set-apart places made with hands, which are the figures of the truth, but into Shemayim itself, now to appear in the presence of Yahuwah for us. The question was asked, where is Yahuwah? I'm sorry, where is Yahusha? And Yahusha is seated on the right hand of the Abba, making intercession for us. Whereas the other priests, when they did what they did, they died, and that was it. But Yahuwah carried on Yahusha carried on his work in Shemayim. Because you have to understand, when you look at this, when everything took place, when Shaitan did what he did, and 1/3 of the Malach went with him, that did something in the atmosphere. It disrupted the order in Shemaiah. So not only did he have to bring redemption to us in the earth, he had to bring redemption in between Shemaiah and the earth and also into Shemaiah. While we believe that we the only thing exist, no, we got to stop that, because there are other, you have to understand, there are other people and other deities that exist. I don't like to use the word alien, because the first thing when you say alien, you see big eyes, big head, and all this stuff, and it just does things to try to throw people off. So if somebody says alien, I'm going to say the other deities, other living organisms. So between Shemayim and earth had to be restored. Shemayim had to be restored. What does a king do? A king brings order. He's seated at the right hand of the Abba. What does he do? Not only does he make intercession, but he's also judging and keeping things in line.
That's right.
Because remember, this is just a foreshadowing or just an example of what is true. Or just a picture of what is already going on or what had already taken place. Are we understand it?
Yes.
So that's why it's important that we understand with all this crazy stuff. It's a whole lot of stuff. Anyway. All right, come on, let's read.
Verse 25 and 26 reads, Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the Kohen Hagadol enters into the set-apart place every year with blood of others. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world has he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself.
Okay. 25 and 26. That's what you read.
Yes.
All right. Nor that he should offer himself often. Nor yet that he should offer himself often. We know that they had to offer themselves what? Every time.
Right.
Every time. As the Kohen Hagadol enters into the set-apart place every year with blood of others. He didn't enter in with the blood of others. He entered with his own blood. He was the sacrifice and he was the Kohen Hagadol. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world, he has appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. He put away the sin by the sacrifice of himself. He sacrificed himself. That's important for us to understand. Nobody took his life. He laid it down.
Right.
All right, come on, 27 and 28.
And as it is appointed to man once to die, but after this comes the judgment. So Hamashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and to them that look for him shall he appear the second time with sin to salvation.
And as it is appointed to man once to die, but after this comes the judgment. So Hamashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and to them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin to salvation. It's important that we understand everything that Yahuwah has done and everything that he is coming to do in our lives. It's important that we maintain our consistency and that we continue to live according to his instructions for our lives. I remember in the scripture, I believe if it's not in Corinthians, it's in Romania, where Yahuwah spoke to Rabbi Shaul, and he said unto him, the thunderings, the things that he heard in the thundering, he wanted to declare it, but he could not. And then Rabbi Shaul in Corinthians, he said, there is much I desire to share with you, but he said to the people, he said, but you're too carnal.
Right.
We have to come up another level. Because there are some things that Yahuwah does desire to show us, but we still are too carnal.
Right.
We still are not in that place for him to share with us some things. There are some things, I'm telling y'all, that our minds will be blown away. Some stuff he showed me, and there's some stuff he has not.
Right.
But the stuff that he has shown me, and the stuff that he's allowed me to share, but it's so much more. We as a people have to begin to look at things in a whole different manner. You know, when we were in Christianity, they had said, you're too heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. So in all honesty, we are supposed to be that way. Why? Because we are supposed to be able to understand the revelations of Shemayim. We're supposed to understand certain things that deal with that, because you have to understand, we live in both worlds.
Right.
We live in both places and in between as well. But some of us are not in that place to really understand certain mysteries and revelations that he wants us to have. Why? Because we're still stuck on certain things that won't allow us to move forward. Now you have to understand there is so much more to our walk and to understanding him. So Hamashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many. Who are the sins that he bared? Are we understanding? We got to ask the question of that. And to them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin to salvation. That's two different statements right there. That's two different things going on right there. But we tended to take them and merge them together and make them one. Are we understanding?
Yes.
This is why we have to be really open and ready to receive the very things of Abba Yahuwah. One of the things that's important, once again, is that we keep that relationship. Always hunger for that relationship. Always hunger to know more. Because the more we want to know, guess what? The more he will put out there for us to know. Are we understanding?
Yes.
You can only give a baby what they're able to hold, even though they will eat if you keep feeding them. Doesn't mean it's good for them.
Right.
Are we understanding?
Yes.
All right. All right, let's go to Yehukin in chapter 3, verse 10. And this is our last chapter for this morning. Yehukin chapter 3. And we have 11 verses. Everybody get ready. Are we understanding today?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to start at verse 10.
Yahusha answered and said to him, Are you a rabbi of Yasharel, and do not know these things?
Verse 10. Read again. I'm sorry. Yehukin in chapter 3, verse 10.
Yahusha answered and said to him, Are you a rabbi of Yasharel, and do not know these things?
Yahusha confirmed to Nicodemus that what he was teaching was not new, but old, so Nicodemus should understand. He was merely referring to the concept of the new birth from above, already illustrated in the Torah in Devarim chapter 10, verse 6, and taking him back to Ezekiel 36, as we know that Nicodemus came to him by night and he began to talk to him because he didn't want anybody else to see what he was doing. And he himself, being a teacher, supposedly being a teacher of the Torah, was asking those things, and Yahusha had to just basically ask him. Yahusha answered and said to him, You are a rabbi of Yasharel, and do not know these things? That's the question. He said, okay, what you teaching there? What are you proclaiming if you don't know these things? All right, verse 11.
Truly, truly, I say to you, we speak what we know and witness what we have seen, and you do not receive our witness.
And it was so. All right, once again, he's talking to him. Now, listen to these footnotes. The term we means the Ibram people, the rabbis. You is plural, so it is not referring to Nicodemus, but to the 10 scattered tribes of Yasharel, since Nicodemus is not rejecting what the Yehudim have to say about Torah, since he is a mighty teacher of it. Now, once again, let's look at what the verse says and what Yahushua is saying to him. He said, Verily, verily, I say to you, we speak that we do know and testify that we have seen, and yet we receive not our witness. And yet you receive not our witness. It's important that we understand that we receive the witness. The witness to whom? Of the things of Yahushua. And watch this, and not disregard the Torah.
That's right.
Because you can't do it. Because he is the Torah. All right, verse 12.
to me when I speak to you about the heavenly things.
And it is so. Now, once again, this is important for us. If we have, he said, if I have told you earthly things and you believe not, how should you believe if I tell you the heavenly things? This is important because, see, we want to hear those things, but we are not ready because we don't even believe some of the natural things.
Right.
This is where we've got to, once again, increase our belief and truly increase our relationship with him. Because I truly believe with all my heart, there are things that he desires to show us and revelations he desires, but some we're not ready for. The you is plural. Yahushua is talking about the 12 tribes and not about Nicodemus. This is the word, and it is plural, you, and not in the singular. Talking about the children of Yasser. And one of the things that is important that we say, and a lot of us say, and we continue to say, is that we are that people. And sometimes we don't get past that. What do I mean? Sometimes we say we are that people, but that's it. We don't look at the other mysteries and revelations and the makeup of who we are and what all it entails to truly be a part of the 12 tribes. Because we get to a point and we get just right in that little place, and that's where we stay. And then when we try to share other things, then that's when people kind of go off, on a little tangent. And that's where you have to just say, okay, Scripture doesn't lie. If you don't believe the earthly things, you will not believe the heavenly things. In other words, those things that deal with our souls. Oh, you understand? I'm talking about some things. All right, let's read 13.
Verse 13. And no man has ascended up into the Shemayim, but he that came down from the Shemayim, even the Son of Man. And it is so.
That whoever believes in him may have eternal life.
Okay? And as Moshe, okay, did you read verse 14? Okay, you must really low because I didn't hear it. And no man has ascended up to Shemayim, but he that came down from Shemayim, even the Son of Man. And we know Enoch and Eliab went into heaven. But how did they get there? Verse 14, verse 13, 14. And as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, which we read on last night as well in Debiram, why the serpent had to be lifted up in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. We know why the why the serpents had to be lifted up. And we know what happened to the people. They was getting bit by fiery serpents because of their crazy mouths. They just couldn't be quiet, just couldn't do right. So Yahuwah said, make a bronze serpent, which bronze represented I believe the situation that they were in, the sin that they were doing. And he said, if I be lifted up, he said, then when he lifted up, he said, those that would look at it would be healed. It was also a representation of Yahushua being lifted up. And so there's another important thing that we must look at in the scriptures that talks about the Son of Man being lifted up. All right, verse 15. Oh, you did, verse 15, I'm sorry, verse 16. That whosoever believes in him may have eternal life. So it's important, if we're going to have eternal life, that we must do what? Say it again?
Believe in him.
We must believe in him. We must believe in everything about him. Not just what we think we know about him, but what we know scriptures prove to know about him. We must believe in him so that we can have eternal life. All right, verse 16.
Verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only unique Son, that whosoever believes in him should not be destroyed but have everlasting life.
And it is so. Now, once again, when you look at the word world, we tend to think that world means everybody. It does not. It means the children of Yasrael. Are we understanding?
Yes.
Once again, for power so loved the world, talking about us, those of us that are Ibram. That's what that's talking about. This is where we have to be careful of universalism. This is not what he's talking about. He's not talking about everybody in it. He never has. Are we understanding? He's always referred and spoke to us as a people. But he's talking about the children of Israel, that he gave his only unique son. That whoever believes in him should not what? Perish. Or be destroyed, but have everlasting life. This is so important for us because we have to ask ourselves, do we really believe it? Do we believe of him or do we believe in him? You can believe of something, but do you believe it? When you believe in something, you put your life on it. You do everything you can to guard it, to save it, to protect it, because you believe in it. That's why people go and do all stuff because they believe in it. People believe in themselves. That's why they invest millions in themselves. People believe in themselves. That's why when they have a project and they have the money, whether they lose it or win it, they invest in themselves. Why? Because they believe in themselves. And because we believe in him, we not only invest our lives, but we invest everything that's ours or that's on loan to us. We invest it because we believe in it. And when you believe in him, you don't let anything and anyone shake you from believing in him.
That's right.
See, now, we have to understand, we have to get so solid in our belief in him that when these trying times come about, we won't be quick to give up or run away from those things that will be presented.
Right. That's right.
When the trying of our belief will be challenged, we still won't give up because we know that we are that world that is being spoken about. That is us who's being referred to. He loved us that he gave his only unique son. Just like the red heifer was what? Unique.
Right.
And so it's important that we understand that. All right, 17, please.
Verse 17 reads, "For power did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved."
Now, once again, you got to understand who he's talking about, and the reference is being made here. For power did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved. That who? The children of Israel through him might be saved. You have to understand, we're already being judged. So he didn't come to do that. He came to do what? To save us or be the door or the access to the Abba. And it is so. All right, verse 18.
He that believes on him is not judged, but he that believes not is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahuwah.
That's right. He that believes on him is not judged. In other words, you don't have to worry about being judged because of your actions. Because we believe in him, and because we believe in him, guess what? Once again, the blood smears our lives, and so now we don't have to worry about being judged. People that step before a judge are being what? Judged for their what? Actions.
Right.
But he that believeth not is judged already. You're already judged because your actions. Because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Yahuwah. Now, once again, you have to understand the only begotten Son. And you know in Scripture he says that Yasrael, my son. Once again, we take wording and we try to lock Yahuwah in with that wording. And this is why people say the only son that Yahuwah had was the children of Yasrael. That he had no other son, but you have to understand, how can you tell him how many sons he had? He can have 1,000 if he wants to. The bottom line is that we believe in him, then we're going to follow him, and we're going to follow what he's saying and what he's doing. We're not going to sit up there and try to basically take his word and beat him with his word and tell him what you said. That's where a problem comes in. Are you understand?
Yes.
All right. Verse 19.
And this is the judgment, that light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil.
Say that again.
And this is the judgment, that light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. Their deeds were evil.
That's what you're
And it's-
As it is so. Because their deeds were evil. Anybody know what deeds are? Their actions were evil. Now somebody would say, well, this is not an evil deed. It is. When you don't keep the Sabbath rest, that's an evil deed. When you don't keep the feast, that's an evil deed. Because this is a command that he gave to us. Are we understand? These are the things that make up our lives. When we don't do those things, this is what happens. Now you have to understand the reference to light is talking about the living Torah. Living Torah is light. Yahusha is that light. So when we believe on him and obey the written light, which is the Torah, then we must also do the works of Torah to esteem power in our lives. That is the fruit of our testimony. So no matter how ridiculous it may look to others, no matter how, far-fetched it may seem to others, no matter how people may say y'all a cult, y'all be up in there all that time, sitting up in there, you don't come out, you don't go do this, you don't do that, you don't celebrate Christmas, you don't do this, you don't do that. You start thinking, no, we don't do that, and we will not do that ever again. Because we know truth. We understand it.
Right, yes.
So therefore, the fruit of our lives or our testimony is us celebrating the Sabbath rest, keeping up with the feast, reading and living by the Torah. That's our testimony to him and the world, whether they reject it or accept it.
Right.
It is still our testimony. And he looks at that testimony. Right. Now, once again, men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. You have to understand who is that light. Yahushua is that light. So we can read it in this manner. Men love darkness rather than Yahushua because their deeds were evil. Because Yahushua is that what? He's that light.
Yes.
Which is the what? The Torah. Torah is light, Yahushua is light. And so because men don't love Yahushua, guess what? Their deeds are evil. But guess what they continue to do? They continue to go in the opposite direction of where they're supposed to follow. All right, verse 20.
For everyone practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his work should be exposed.
For whosoever that does evil hates the light. That's Yahushua. Hates the Torah, hates Yahushua. And neither comes to what? Yahushua. Lest his deeds should be reproved. So, people don't come because they know they're going to be reproved. This is another major problem. This is what keeps us as a people so divided.
Right.
Because you have people that don't believe in Yahushua. Then you have people that believe in Yahuwah. Then they believe in Yahushua, but they call him all manner of other names. So we got this, and so you got all this going on, but when it's all said and done, the bottom line is Yahushua is looking at our lives through Yahushua to see if we're bearing fruit.
Right.
What our fruit look like? Is it something that he can pick and enjoy, or is it something that he's looking at saying, you got to go back to the drawing board because all your fruit is rotten.
Right.
All your stuff messed up. I don't want my fruit to be all jacked up. I don't want my celebrating and esteeming the Sabbath rest to be a stench in his nostril. I don't want it to be that. I want it to be a sweet smelling savor. Because you have to understand, he smells what we do just as he sees it. And so we want it to smell good. We don't want it to stink. We don't want him to be sitting there saying, boy, I'll be glad when they get out my way because it don't smell good. Are we understanding? We don't want our fruit to be contaminated. We don't want to be a tree and that doesn't bud.
Right.
As I've said before, when we go on the property, and I miss home. When we go and we see trees that have been stunted, they have the buds, but they can't grow. So that tree is, in actuality, a tree that is not fruitful, and it is not, honestly, a good tree. Because it cannot do what it was purposed to do, and that is to do what? Bear fruit. So it is a barren tree. Barren trees, if they do not bring forth fruit, they're no good but to be cut down and used for firewood or for building. I don't want to be a tree that has been fertilized,
Right.
that has been watered, and yet I can't produce. Why? Because there's still that little thing that's there that's prohibiting me, and it's called my will. Because I don't want to accept it. I don't want to walk in it. Because that's just not what I want. It's not about what we want or don't want. It is about the truth.
Right.
And I want to be that tree that grows. And you ought to want to be that tree that grows. The Clark sister sung a song, he gave me nothing to lose but all the gain.
Right.
And nothing, you don't lose nothing in this walk. You gain everything. And the greatest thing you gain is eternal life.
Right.
But you can't detach eternal life from Yahushua and Yahuwah. Are we understanding?
Yeah.
So it's important that we understand he gave us nothing to lose but all the gain. And when we can understand and began to look through the eyes of Torah, we will see what all we gain and honestly see what we let go is really nothing at all. It's just a mirage. It's just one of the things that we hoped it to be. That's one of the things you ought to never want to get in. Never hope something to be something. If it's not that, then don't try to fight and make it what it is not. But this is not that. This is truly what it is. It is presented unto us in a manner of love. It is presented unto us in a manner of life. He wants us to have life and that more abundantly. What else can you ask for? Truly, what else can you ask for when you know the world is going to hell in a handbasket? It is. Y'all, I had to say this. I saw on the media, and I mean, it wasn't funny. I mean, you know how some stuff you look at, you don't know whether to have a beaver moment. And anybody who's ever said, what's the lamb? No, not the lamb. What is it with the Ice Age? Yeah, and the beaver and his baby sitting up there, and the clip fall over, and the beaver snatch the child on the face. That's a beaver moment. And I'm thinking to myself, y'all, he was a baby. I promise you, she couldn't have been no more than maybe 2. She had one of those, what you call the things with the opium pipes, the bombs. Now, y'all, this little girl had this thing, and she was smoking that thing like a champ. I kid you not. She couldn't have been no more 2 or 3. She's standing up there. I'm talking about making it go in and out of her nose, and I'm saying to myself, and everybody was on there, you know. Some of the stuff I won't say. But I'm saying, and somebody said, y'all, this is why we have to be right. Y'all, I kid you not. The baby wasn't no more than this tall. Yeah. Did you see it? Yeah. And she had her little thumb. That girl was smoking that thing like a champ, wasn't she? She was smoking it like a grown person. And I'm like, I didn't know whether to cry, whether to scream. I'm like, but this is what they're teaching them. And she was standing over there with it in her hand, and she was smoking it like a champ. I don't want to be a part of a world system that allows this and okays this type of behavior. That's right. Then another one where a baby, y'all, maybe 5 months old, the mama or the daddy put 3 cigarettes in their mouth and took a picture of it. And the baby just sitting up there. Toralessness. No Torah. No kind of heart. Desensitized. Void of life. Void of truth. There is no way, y'all. They have already damaged these babies' lives before they life even get started. And they posted up, and ain't nobody said nothing. I said, y'all, this is horrible. Because what can you say? The only thing I can say is for us as a people, stay out of the world. Get out of the world and stay out of the world. Because you don't want to be caught up in that. Because let me tell you something. There is a storm. And we can believe that song if we want to, out on the ocean. And it ain't moving this way. It's already hit land. And if we are not anchored in Yahushua, we will surely drift away. I'm not drifting away. I'm not going to be torn away. I'm not going to be blown away. Because I plan on staying in His truth. This is why we've got to be in Him. That's horrible, y'all. And that's the truth. Babies already destroying their lungs. She probably won't even make it to C15. Because as new as she is, and I'm talking about she was hitting that thing like a champ. I'm like, I don't believe this. This is horrible. And they sitting up there laughing and thinking it was funny. And people think these things are funny. It's not funny. It's just showing you how the state of our world is. You would have never seen nothing like that 15, 20 years ago. Because that wasn't what it was, but Torahlessness. Nobody don't care. And this we're seeing slowly but surely, Yahuwah is removing His mercy. He's removing His mercy. And when He removes His mercy and remove me, bye. I love you, but bye. Are we understanding? I'm telling you, I'm not being one of those. You know how you see on the movie? They be like, you go, I'll stay. No, you stay, I'll go. Because if you ain't right, me dying, and you ain't right, ain't going to help it. That means let's go and get right. Because I'm not going to be the bridge for you to walk on, and you ain't right. We're going to go together. You know, folks want to make people out. They the hero. They saying up people out. Yeah, I'm doing that now by giving you truth. Telling you, come on while the door is open. Don't wait till the door closes. And now you want somebody to break you out. Because there is not a bar, there is not a chain, there is not a chain cutter, there is nothing that can break you out if you don't get out right now. And it's true. So I'm out and I'm staying out. And it is so.
It is.
All right, verse 21, our last verse.
But the one doing the truth comes to the light so that his works are clearly seen, that they have been wrought in
And it is so. But he that practices truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in power. Truth means to practice the written Torah. No argument there. No argument for me. Because when you understand His truth, and you understand that you are that burnt sacrifice, and you have put your life out there, and you are sold out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you get to a point, I don't understand everything. I'm adjusting to this, but guess what? I'm going to adjust to it. We don't make excuses, and we don't try to make excuses and say, well, I can't do it, you know, it's something prohibiting me. No, we be like the burnt offering. We put ourselves up there. We be like those animals that willingly gave themselves. They didn't fight, they didn't buck. Because can you imagine the mess that could have been made? You trying to get an animal in there that don't want to go. They kicking and bucking. You know, them things can weigh tons. You in there getting hemmed up because they mashing you all on the side. You got to clip them. You got to cut them. And they have to be a perfect sacrifice. So you can't break nothing on them. You can't clip nothing on them. You can't bruise them. You can't wound them no kind of way. You sitting up there, come on here. And you know everything has a time because you got to keep that thing moving like a conveyor belt. And the animal pushing and pulling back. No, them animals went, like the scripture said, a dumb sheep before her shearers. In other words, you obliterated about what's going on. Because you've given up your will and you trust the one that's leading you. That's the way we have to become. Are we understanding?
Yes.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Come on, put your hands together and sing. And it is so. As we have come to the close of our class on today, once again, I do apologize for the heat. But as we have come to this portion of our class, to where I take the time to ask if you have any questions and comments, please do so now. If not, we're going to move on. Any questions, any comments? You said you have one? Oh, okay. So everybody's good. We're good? We're clear on everything? Oh, okay, check. Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. No questions, no comments today? No? All right. I want to say to you Total, for being a part of our Sabbath class on today. I want to say to you, as I always say, keep your head up, keep your shoulders square, keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah. Not just on top of it, but ground your feet in it. I want to say once again, I am Prophetess Sabrina Brown, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to know that no matter where you are, take this time to rest, take this time to enjoy the rest of your day, and above all, listen, live, and learn through and by the Torah. Once again, I want to say to you, may Yahuwah keep you and baruch you in this time of Sabbath rest. I want you to remember that this is the place where the Torah does the body good. Until next time, may Yahuwah baruch atah and keep you in His shalom. Until we meet again, I want you to remember that you have been touched by Champion TV. And it is so.
And it is so.